Hello and welcome to the Awkward Geek. This is vlog 4 and today's topic is Casey Anthony. But before I delve into the topic, I actually wanted to talk about the topics in general and sort of what I would be talking about in these vlogs. In the first vlog I mentioned that I would have sort of three things that I would be talking about. I'd be talking about abstract concepts in relation to the human experience, so things like happiness and love and friendship. I'd be talking about life experiences and how they relate to being human. So sharing my life story, sharing the stories that others have, anything that sort of relates to what it means to be human. And then also sharing reactions to news stories, either news stories that specifically relate to being human, or how our reactions to those stories relate to being human. And in this particular case with the Casey Anthony, this is about our reactions to the case and how that relates to being human. The Casey Anthony case brings up a lot of emotion from people. On a very base and instinctual level, people were just very passionate about it. When I watched a recent 48 Hours special about the case and people's reaction to it, they showed a clip of people in this room watching the verdict, and there was just this audible gasp of disbelief when not guilty was read. I mean, I think that really represents very well how people have invested themselves emotionally in this. And that goes back to sort of this base instinctual desire that we have to protect children. Like other animals, we want to progress our species, and so we have children, and we need to raise children, and we have this need to protect them so that they can grow up to be able to protect themselves. That's sort of the feeling there. Children have this very innocent quality to them. They're not malicious. They don't intend to do us harm. So that even if they give us trouble at times, we don't blame them. We don't, they're not little serial killers or something like that. Um, so they have that vulnerability to them too. If they're blameless to us, sort of in general, uh, then it becomes even more difficult to accept that someone could harm them or neglect them. And so because of that, on a fundamental level, we expect that when people become parents, they'll change. That an aspect of them will actually change, and that their children will come first, that the way that their lives work will be different. In pop culture is often described, people say that like everything about their life changes. There's this fundamental feeling. And I don't know if it's true. I don't have children. I haven't had children, so I don't know. But it's evident that whether or not it's true, people definitely believe and expect in this sort of thing. When a parent is a bad parent, when they neglect their children or they abuse their children or they harm their children, um, then we call them terrible parents. We ostracize them. We do have laws for specific extreme cases, but we don't have laws that prohibit people from becoming parents oftentimes, even though we might know that they could become bad parents. We don't have like a test that says if you don't pass this test, you can't become a parent. And even though something like that would be useful sort of sometimes, ultimately it's a good thing that we don't have it. If we had it, then we'd be a less free society for it. And so one of the risks of being a free society is that we don't have those things. And so instead we just ostracize those sorts of parents, and we try to look after their children more. We feel more passionate when harm comes to those children, when people abuse the rights that they're given. Passion and instinct and all of those things are a fundamental part of what it means to be human. Part of being human is the more baser parts of us, those things that we don't often feel like we can control. Our instincts and our reactions to things, that's all part of being human. But at the same time, being human is also about being reasonable and logical and being aware of our passions and our emotions so we can control them and direct them in a way that we want, a way that's positive and constructive. That's one of the ways that we're fundamentally different from a lot of other creatures, is because we are able to not only feel those things and react to things, but we're also to think about them and rationalize them and make reason. And then when we have reason involved, we can direct them in a positive way. And that's what I really want to talk about in this vlog, is the fact that we essentially have two options here. We can feel passionate about this and direct it in a positive way, or we can be passionate about this and direct it in a negative way. Now the positives of this is we begin to look out for children more. We push for causes that, look out for children that might be in potentially bad situations. We look for making sure that the parents that have children early are monitored and that they're given all the support and encouragement they need to know that whatever happens, that there are people out there willing to make sure that their child will be all right, that they're not alone in this. We can even take it to a more personal level and say that I will know I'm not going to have children before I'm ready, or I'm going to make sure my children understand what it means to be a parent so that they don't have children before they're ready. Or we say my child has already had children and I know they're not ready, so I'm going to keep a close eye on their children too. In some ways, Casey Anthony's parents tried to do this. They made sure that she had what she needed so she could raise this child despite the situation. But there were just certain things where it seemed like maybe they let her have too much control. They didn't want to control their daughter who was young and wanted to live life. And because they didn't assert themselves well enough, perhaps, it got out of control. And so we recognize this and we say, if I'm a parent and I have a child that has a child, I need to make sure that my child realizes that I will not tolerate anything which means that their child may be neglected. But there are also negative ways that we can react to this too, and we need to avoid these, I think, as much as possible, because if we allow our instincts and our passions to control us and control our reactions and to control our actions to things, then society loses a lot of its strength. A lot of society's strength is in our ability to socialize and interact with people and to be reasonable and logical. When we're not reasonable and logical, when we're just reacting on passion, we do very destructive things. My sister talked to me about a woman in Oklahoma who tried to run another woman off the road just because she looked like Casey Anthony. Never mind that at the time Casey Anthony was still in jail and in Florida. This woman thought that this woman looked like Casey Anthony and decided to take it into her hands to bring her to justice. Regardless of what your opinions are, bringing someone to justice is not something that we should be doing on an individual level. If we start to do that, then we ignore the justice system that we have in place, which is meant to protect people so that innocent people aren't harmed. And whether or not Casey Anthony is innocent, there are innocent people that are often convicted of, or people feel are guilty of crimes. And allowing people to take justice out on those people would mean that innocent people are being killed simply because someone feels a certain way. So we can't do that. We can't allow our emotions to make it so that we can't continue on with our lives, or so that we feel like we have to disrupt the lives of others so that they understand what we're feeling. When we do those things, the world can't continue and it can't grow. We need to be passionate, but we also need to be logical. Those are parts of being human. It's an interesting case. The Casey Anthony case is something that I'd actually like to talk about, not in a vlog, but just sort of share my own opinions at some point, maybe soon. Because it's just an interesting case, and it really does bring up so many emotions. You think about that little girl and, being so young, unable to know or to understand maybe what happened to her. We don't know what happened to her, really, honestly and truly. But whatever happened to her, she didn't understand. She couldn't protect herself. She couldn't help herself. And that is very sad, and it's very tragic. And those sorts of things, they inspire us to act a lot of times without thinking, without embracing what it means to be human and looking deeper than the surface. But we need to cultivate in ourselves an awareness, and we need to become self-actualized so that when these things happen, we can still control our emotions, we can still direct them, so that we can make a positive influence on the world as opposed to a negative one. That's all I've got for you this week. It's a tough topic and it's very controversial, but no matter what happens, no matter what side of the fence you're on, you need to always look to try to make sure that your emotions aren't controlling you and ruling you, that you are restraining them and controlling them so that you can do something positive with them and make a better difference in the world. Thank you.